Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're watching Christian Adventure Gamer. I'm your host, Daniel the Paladin. And in this video, I'm going to be doing my review, or giving my review, of the Contra the board game by Blacklist Games and Kess Entertainment. Kess actually gave me this game for the purpose of this review. So thank you, Kess. And so it is convention season, and if you're going to be at any cons, you might be looking out for certain games to try out. The question is this a game for you, right? Is this a game that you might like? And so maybe you should stop by the Kess booth to check this out for your own after you've seen my review. And so part of the idea for me at Contra is that it brings feelings of nostalgia, right? Because I grew up playing Contra on the NES. You know, there is the famous cheat code that everyone knows. You know, even non-players of Contra know the code because there's just been so many references to it. You know, up, up, down, down, left, right, and you know the rest. I'm not going to go all the way through that. But the question now is, how does it play? Obviously, does it bring back those feelings of nostalgia of playing Contra? I don't know. Let's go down the table and find out. Alright, so I have the board all kind of set up here. We got the different enemy tokens here. We have the pillboxes set up on the board already. We have the starting positions for the commandos, right? So we have Bill and Lance, right? So Bill Riser, and Lance Bean. So let's go ahead and put those back like that. We have different starting positions, right, on the board. We have the boss here, as you can see. And so in this version that you get from Kess, you're going to get cardboard standees instead of actually miniatures. I'll talk more about that in my final thoughts of the review. We got the cards, the weapon cards that come through you getting the pillboxes. Obviously you have your little medals for your life counter. You have what's called advantage tokens, which are these things right here. So those are the advantage tokens. There's three different colors, red, green, and blue. And there's a pile of them on the side here. As you can see, there's damage tokens here. We have some other tokens like these here. The little blue and red balls. There, look like pills, but they're not. And then you have these little X's here. So you have enemy cards here that you'll be going through. You have the stage card here. It tells you what the different icons on the board mean. So there's two sides to this board. There's actually the jungle, and then there's the alien den, I think is what it's called. But you have the turrets here, and you also have a river. You see these red lines on the board here. Right, so here's an indication of these red lines. All that means here is for elevation, right? So in order to go from here to here, you have to jump, which that's one of the actions you can do. I'll get to that. And then water, obviously, is a little more difficult to get through unless you jump into it, which I'll kind of get through. And then here are some more enemy spawn points on the board. And here are some advantage or objective, let's just say objective spaces on the board. If you go there, you take an objective card and you see if you can pass it, which I'll explain here in a moment. And so I'm not going to dive into a full how to play. Actually, I think Blacklist Games did a really great job of showing how to play. And I'm going to include that in this video. I'm going to tag it, that is, right? In the description of this video, so you can see that later. But through the game, you have cards in your hand, right? And these cards have different abilities, possibly. You can play any card that you want. You can play as many cards you want. But the thing is, once you've used the card, it's gone. The card also gives you advantage points here, which you're going to need throughout the game. So as you go through the game, you're going to be moving. Let's say Bill is going to go first, right? Because he's on the left. So I'm going to take his cards. And then on his cards, there's different things he could possibly do. You may attack, choose a commando to attack, all these fun things, right? So we can take his blue move card here to show that he's going to use it, right? He's going to flip it over. In order to find out what a move is, we have a commando turn card, or well, it's a player reference card, really. So to figure out what he's going to do, we're going to take our player reference card, right? And so it shows move, which is run 3 spaces and jump 1, ignoring these red lines here. And so on our enemy turn, it shows what we do, but we're not going to get to that part yet. And we're going to, let's say we use flank attack. It says you may move an enemy up to 3 spaces, then you may jump, then attack. And so let's say we move this guy 3 spaces, right? So 1, 2, and then let's say we put him right there, 3. Okay, so when it comes to the cards in your hand, you can play any number of them, and they also count for successes. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to use that, and then we're going to jump up here instead of wasting our move, because we can always move later. And so let's do that. We jumped up here. Now we're going to roll a number of dice based on what shows here. So he's going to get 2 white dice to roll, and he's got a range of 5. Cut and dry, simple. If it's not 5, you don't hit, right? So it's got to be within the 5, which he does have. So let's roll the 2 dice. All right. So now he has a knife and this metal symbol. I guess that's what it would be, right? But he doesn't have any of those, so those are not successes. But let's say he rolled this, and let's say he rolled this. Okay? This is a burst symbol. This is success. Both of them count as successes. And so what's going to happen is this will create another die. We roll that, and we have a knife that we cannot use. So this guy is going to take 2 damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some damage tokens here. We're going to take 2 of them. Then we're going to apply it to the greeter here, the greeter scout, the blue greeter scout, because we have the green and we have the purple. Okay. And so then we can play some more cards. And so let's say he uses a sustained fire, right? So we already know how many damage dice he's going to roll. So he's going to roll the 2, and he's got 2 successes. Now we add 2 more. Now, when do we know that the enemy is dead? Well, let's see here. On this card, we have 4 here, which indicates how much damage they take to get rid of. So we've just applied the 4, so this guy is gone. So we'll take him off the board, right? And put him back with his buddies. And down here would indicate, like, if on the enemy turn he rolled that symbol, that would happen. So let's go ahead and take this, put that back there to show that he is no longer in our turns to be applied, right? When I say applied, I mean utilized, or on the enemy turn he does not activate. And then now, because he used that card to jump and attack, he still has his move action, right? And so let's say he goes, let's see what other cards do we have with Bill Risers. Do we have any other move here? That's what he's going to do on his turn. So we're going to flip that over. Now, there's nothing in his range to attack, so he doesn't need to use his attack. Maybe I should have done that instead of using the card. Oh well, I was just showing how to apply the cards. Alright, so let's go ahead and end his turn by flipping over his player card from the commando turn to the enemy turn, and then I'm going to draw a card to end his turn. So I'll put that here like this, and I'll grab Lance's cards. So he's got some green knives and some red symbols there, and so let's go ahead and see what he can do. So you got engage. You may move an enemy up to 3 spaces, and then may attack, gaining +1 die if the target's within 1 space of you. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3. He's not within 1 space. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and move. So we're going to flip over his card to move 1, 2, and 3. Right? And so then let's use the engage and cause that guy to go 1 space close to me. Now I'm going to attack him, and Lance has a rifle, and so he gets 2 white dice and range of 5. But now, because of the other card, he gets an additional dice. So he's going to roll these 3 dice. We got 2 successes, and he has 2 knives. So let's see what he's got in his hand. He's got 1 knife, so he can use this to make this a success. Alright, so now he's doing 2 damage to the purple. So the purple has 2 damage on him, and then let's say he takes his normal attack, right? We'll flip that over. Now we're going to take his normal attack. We're going to roll those dice. He's got 2 more damage he's doing, right? So now, again, this guy has 4 damage, and so he is gone. And so we can get rid of this card as well. Boom. Seems easy, right? Alright, so now that he's done, he's going to flip over his commando card and draw a card to his hand. So now he has 3 cards to play with next turn. Alright, so let's go to enemy turn. So on the enemy turn, in an order of their choosing, players each resolve a single enemy attack. right? So I have a boss card here, which still gets utilized, and Bill has one as well. So let's go ahead and use Bill's. He has repeater cannons. Each commander rolls one additional enemy die during each of their enemy attacks. Okay, so we're going to roll 2 enemy dice. So the black dice here are the enemy dice. So let's go ahead and see what we roll. All right, so we have the repeater cannon that Bill has. Obviously, it's attacking us for 1 blue and 1 of any. That's what this symbol means here. It's any. So we have to use that. And obviously, you can see the blue dice there. And so we can pay the 1 from that Bill has back, and then we can take the one that Lance has and puts that back. Now, since we can do any, this is where our cards come in. So let's say Bill wants to get rid of one of his cards to help pay for that any, so he doesn't take any damage, right? So we'll get rid of that card, so he's down to 2. And then let's say Lance gets rid of one of these because he's got 2 of them. So now he's paid for the any. So what happens if you don't have the advantage to pay for these dice, you will actually lose a health token, right? That's what this is here. It's a credit, right? So it's like one of the medals. That medals that represent your life. So those would go away. And then you're left to possibly die. If both people die, the game is over. Lance has the defense wall. And so it says this card can only be dealt a maximum of 4 damage during a single commando attack. So that is one of the most difficult parts of this boss, right? Is being able to do only 4, max of 4. So it's going to take time to get through this. But it doesn't have any other effects as far as rolling dice. So we're still going to roll the 2 enemy dice here. All right, and so we have, it's doing a special attack, which we're going to resolve first. So each commando suffers 2 damage, then each commando with less than 2 enemies in their play area draws 1 enemy card. And then, since the enemy stage is over, we don't have any other enemies. Let's go to the stage turn. The players activate each card in the stage play area from left to right. Then they draw and resolve 1 stage card. After the stage turn is complete, each commando flips their turn card back to the commando turns side to begin a new round. So we'll go ahead and resolve that. The first one here is spaces are the blue spaces are spaces containing stage tokens are rivers. So the blue symbols here throughout the board are rivers, as you can see. The river is raging. Each time a commando enters a river space, they must discard 1 random card from their hand, which we're not on it, so we don't have to do that. It says activate. Each commando in a river space must discard 1 random card from their hand. So we won't do that. Then we go to the next one, turrets. So I'm in trouble here because I can see that I'm on a turret, which, if I would have been paying attention, I could have spent one of my green cards to actually nullify that turret. It says each commando within 3 spaces of a turret space suffers 2 any damage. Alright, so now we are both within 3 spaces, and so we both have to do something. So I'm just going to go ahead and discard my cards here just to pay for that, and then that's what Bill's going to do as well, because we don't want to lose life. Alright, so that makes it a little harder, but that's what's going to happen. And then we're going to draw 1 card, right? And it says, on alert, discard all advantage tokens from the map. Then each commando not in the ledge space must draw an enemy card. Alright, so I'm on a ledge space. Lance is not, so he has to draw an enemy card. So he's got a blue sniper recruit. Suffers 2 green damage when it does its special ability. It says, if any commando has 3 enemies in their play area, discard the top card of the stage deck. If you cannot, the commando loses. Alright, so that means if you run out of these cards, you're done, and you can only have a max of 3 enemies that you're controlling. So then this is going to get discarded. We don't add it to the stack here. We just throw it off to the side, now it's discarded. Alright. Then we start round 2, right? And then we're going through, and we're doing this over and over again. So we're trying to knock out the turrets by putting these green symbols on them. Okay? And then we are also trying to get to the boss and defeat the boss. So like I said before, this one is harder to defeat because it can only do 4 max damage. We have this other repeater cannon that would be on top of the wall shooting at you that we're trying to take out as well. And so we do this multiple times. Hopefully we don't die. Okay, and so let's go ahead and take it back to the top and give my thoughts. The gameplay is very simplistic, right? You have dice that you're chucking or rolling, right? You have explosive dice, which adds to the theme, I guess, right? We have advantage tokens we can use to make successes, so it makes the game a little more easier, right? However, you're going to be pulling out a lot more enemies to face. You're going to be spending a lot more advantages. You're not going to have advantage. You're going to lose life. And then getting to the boss feels like it's just grueling, right? It's just like you're really trying to get in there, then you got to run away possibly to not take damage, and so it's kind of a lot of back and forth there. You only have so many cards that you can use for hand management at a time if you're spinning them, right? You can save them up and just use them all at one time. There's no max hand size. You have the water here that you could just jump into so you don't lose a card. If you walk through it, obviously you get penalties. And so there's just a lot that's happening in this game, right? One thing I didn't show is that we have these pill boxes here that I can take off the board, and then I would take one of these here, like this has a flamethrower, and I'd place it over my player's weapon. Lance has a rifle, so I take the flamethrower and put it over it. We go to his card now, and we can see that his rifle was replaced with the flamethrower. You get 4 dice, which are pretty powerful, but he can only have a range of 3. And so that's how that would work. There's also other weapons here, like a spread gun. We all love the spread gun. You get 3 dice, range of 4. We get a machine gun, 3 dice, range of 5. We have a laser, 3 dice, range of 5. And so they all have different theme, right? Different theme, different thematics. The laser has after each of your attacks, with this weapon, you may deal 1 damage to 1 enemy within range. So, like, basically, it's going to bounce off and hit someone else, right? And then during attack with the machine gun, this weapon, you may re-roll each non-critical die once. So that gives you a chance to get some more burst, right? That's what they call that. That burst is a critical, which is this. And so I really like the theme cards here, or the gun cards here. Add a lot of theme to the game as you remember playing the actual game back in the day. Another thing to mention is that the objectives here, if a player would reach one of the objective tokens here on the map indicator, they would go to this challenge that I mentioned earlier. And so they'd have to pay these advantage. If they were not able to pay these advantage, they'd get the advantage here. So it's like draw 1 card. So Lance would draw a card if it was his turn. Bill would draw a card if it was his turn. But if they were able to get this here, they would be able to take one of the tokens and they would place it on their mission card, right? So now if they have this on their mission card, this ability here is always in effect. And it says on here, during your attacks, you may convert any number of red results into automatic damage results. And so that's definitely helpful. And there are effects that cause you to lose that, and then you have to restart, right? So that's something to know. And so one thing that I found really surprising is that this game is not simplistic. It is. Don't just look at the name of the game, Contra the board game, and think, oh, this is gonna be like the NES game. It's not. It's very tactical in its own right. It's like a miniature tactical game. Like if this was player versus player, I'd call it a skirmish almost. But it's not that, right? One thing about it is that it is surprisingly more advanced than what it looks due to the mechanics of the game. And obviously, a lot of the mechanics go into the theme, like the different guns that a player can pick up, right? Like that changes their weapon until they lose it. Like you'll have to pay attention to different aspects of the board. So you have like the higher terrain, you got to jump onto, you can't walk onto it, right? You have the river, you have the bridge. When you walk over the bridge, it's going to blow up just like it does in the video game. That's the thematic part, and that's also part of the terrain and the game here, right? We have the turrets, which are presenting another problem, and even though we take care of them, obviously we just seen that there's a card that's going to remove our token and make the turret active again. So it's just constantly just replacing and rejuvenating all of the enemies, which then just adds to the chaos of this game. It is a little chaotic, I like the game. I like the idea of the game. There were some things about the game I did not really care for. Obviously, like not being able to get more cards was a little challenging. The rule book, I think, could have spent a little more time in the oven. The rule book was probably one of the hardest things to overcome for me to learn this game. I actually made a list of things that I liked and didn't like. The plastic bases of the players don't really hold them very well, so they're easy to slip out of there. I wish that we could have had miniatures or have the option to buy miniatures, because I'd rather have the miniatures than these cutouts, because the cardboard cutouts are actually much bigger than the hexagon spaces, so they stick over. Having a miniature that would actually fit there would be nice, and I think even more thematic. Sometimes the icons on the card are kind of harder to read. Some of the little ones and stuff, like obviously they pack a lot of information on these cards, and so that was one thing. One thing they didn't show in the book for an icon, right, is the commando starting player. Obviously, it's easy to figure out, and so for people that are new to the game, they may have been looking for that icon, not knowing where to start their player. But that's neither here nor there. That's not a big complaint. Obviously, like I said, it's easy to figure out on the board. The enemy turn is very easy. It's smooth. It goes through, and then we go into the stage turn. Again, that's very smooth. I didn't really find any clunkiness in that. There's a lot of information and spaces in this book. Sometimes maybe even a little too much information in the book and in some of the cards. It could lead to some confusion for newer players. And so overall, I'm going to give this a positive rating because I like the theme. I like the game. Like I said, the rule book, there are a little bit of problems with the rule book, but I think like watching the video of setup and how to play that Blacklist Games did. I think also it was done by Kess as well. That will really help players to get this game out and want to play it. Again, like the idea of playing Contra, where you run across the stage, right? It's a side scroller, and just shooting up enemies and getting to the wall, right? We all remember blowing off the wall and going into the building and jumping over logs and lasers and whatnot. There's not all of that in this, right? Like there's no side scrolling, there's no going into a building and diving and jumping, right? It'd be cool if there was, but I think that I would love to see an expansion for this. I'd like to see this take off in a bigger way, more adventure style, I guess, right? And obviously if they take the components that they did here, the aspects, right, of the tactical gameplay, I guess that's the best thing to call it, right? Taking all these components into something bigger, right? Because this only has 2 sides. I think there's only 4 bosses, but that limits the replayability, I think, right? Every game's obviously going to be a little bit different because you're randomizing cards, but just for more uniqueness and to watch the game grow would be awesome. So, hey, hopefully you found this review informative. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button, and thanks for tuning in, and see you guys next time.